Happy New Year to you all. I am Henry Nutt, your advocate, author, all things promoting construction in a positive way kind of person. And thank you for joining me today on my YouTube page. I am excited. This is 2025 and we are here, or I am here, like you guys, looking at what am I shifting? What am I doing new? What am I improving? What am I tackling this year? What are my visions? What are my dreams? What are my goals? How do I want to transition into becoming something better, improved, get more money, be more impactful, whatever it might look like for you. I'm in this journey with you. One of the last videos that I created at the end of the year that I was posting for this year was based on just an inspiration that I had, saying, okay, how do I step up my own personal game to be more impactful? How do I gain more courage to get things done in this industry of construction that I love and been a part of for almost 40 years? So before I get really into it, you know the drill. Please go and like my page, subscribe to get my content. You know when it's being dropped here. As I mentioned, I am looking to post at least once a week. I used to do that everyday stuff and try, and you know, if I do it every day, it'll be a segment of a long video that'll be in the form of a short. But for learning content and information that's going to be probably 10 to 15 minutes long, that's going to be about once a week. And I have a focus, I have a goal, I have a plan of attack. I'm in this journey with you and I'm learning as I go, but I know that what you have to do is go and do it. There's a saying, and most of you probably have heard this, that good can be the enemy of perfect. Or the perfect can be the enemy of good. Don't wait till it's perfect, because it may never get there, right? But you got stuff that's good. And when we say good enough, it doesn't mean that it's shorted. It just means that this is stuff I can present. This is stuff that can be released. These are things that we can do. I'm going to go just like you and be imperfect in doing it and trying and figuring it out and getting better and learning and getting feedback, getting criticism, so that the next time it's better. That's what we want to do. So please like my page, subscribe, looking to gain followers, and hopefully get people who are excited about this industry as much as I am. I'm at the tail end of my career and embarking on a new path. And that path will be full-time and trying to help people become successful in this industry, because hey, I wrote a little book called 7 Principles of Creating Success in the Construction Industry. You can find that on Amazon and anywhere books are sold. But I am like you on this journey, trying to figure out what does my next step look like. Just like starting my job back in the day when I first started back into the trades, when I had left and came back and learned some lessons and applied those lessons, taught those lessons to other people, realized that those principles were rare content in my life lessons and experiences, and just begin to share that. And that's the beginning of my own journey. And so I'm continuing on this in 2025 with fervor and passion and courage. And as I mentioned before, if you listen to any of my prior videos, the last one that I did in regards to what my plan of attack for 2025 was going to be, was specifically starting out a whole series on leadership skills for field leaders. That is really like the crux for me, is really, you can take out the field if you want and then say it's leaders, but the reason I put it in field leaders is because those are sometimes the folks who are not on top of mind for the folks that have such an important role, and sometimes they're overlooked, sometimes the training's not there provided for them, sometimes they're just get out there and figure it out. And they do, but they struggle and they learn in many ways the hard way, and information has been passed down that has not been necessarily the best way, and you struggle through it and you figure it out. Because one thing that we are as a former field leader is we will figure it out. We'll find a way until someone tells us different, and we'll own that way for our entire career unless we figure out a way differently. And many times we don't figure out a way differently because our companies are not necessarily proactive and progressive in being instrumental in developing field leaders. Even though 80% of our risk and reward lies out there in the field. After the pre-planning's done, if we're not involved in pre-planning, if we're not involved in the design and giving our input, and we just give a set of drawings or a job site address and there we go, do what we normally do, and it looks like the same job we just did before. We have not extracted one lesson learned from that former job of what we would do different. We're not promoted and told to do those kind of things, not encouraged to do that. So we just keep doing what we've done and what we've been doing for decades, and sometimes wonder, why is this industry so backwards when it comes to progress, when it comes to people getting it? And we're not even talking about these super amazing ideas. I'm talking fundamental things that we all should be able to do to create better experiences, better outcomes, safer projects around the country. Sounds simple. In some ways it really is, but because we are so stuck in our ways, we don't budge with something new, with someone coming with something new. We are in this automatic, how do I resist this kind of mode from day one. This is kind of my mission of imparting wisdom through my own experiences, former superintendent, working for Southland Industries for almost now 18 years, been in the industry for about 37 years as a sheet metal worker. I've learned a few things, mostly the hard way. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to continue and you don't have to repeat the mistakes that the forefathers have made in this industry moving forward. We can do something better. So leadership skills for field leaders is really my impact, my goal today. And one of the things that, like, to set up for this is the goal is just educating to inspire field leaders to improve communication, team management, and job site cultures. So why is that stuff important? Again, first of all, we got to remember that this group of people that manage these multi-million-dollar projects are just regular folks that someone saw something inside of them and said, I want to promote you to be more responsible for this money. Maybe we didn't say it like that, but ultimately that's what you're doing. Is you're going to be responsible for a segment of a multi-million-dollar job or the entire front of it. Sometimes with not formal education, sometimes with things that we think we need to have in order to run a business, essentially, is what we're doing out there in that field. It's so important that we spend time developing the people that are responsible for the highest risk that we have when it comes to execution of projects. We want to improve how we communicate. We got to be able to talk to people. It's not common anymore where when I was a superintendent, like a general superintendent, they don't want to see me at an interview anymore. Not our clients. They wanted to see the people that they're going to work with every day for the next 6 months to 3 years, whatever that project schedule was going to be. They didn't want the person there that they're going to see maybe once a week. You can come in there and say anything. You have all the experiences, but who are the people that are going to be rubbing elbows with me in the trailer, walking the trenches, literally at times, to figure out how we're going to solve some problems out there? And so what we have to do is educate our field leadership how to communicate, how to solve problems, how to disagree with professionalism, how to have outlook and forecasting and ideas and brainstorming, and recognizing the people that are around you on your job that work for different companies are not your enemy. They're not your target. They're your team members. And how do we work collectively to solve those problems? Because if that person who's not a part of my immediate team is failing, they're probably affecting me on my job. They're probably affecting me on how decisions are being made, promises are being kept or broken, how safe the job is, and ultimately how we make progress as a unit. If I don't see that in my peripheral and ultimately straight ahead, I'm going to fail. That job is going to fail at some point because I am walking down this thing with tunnel vision. So we got to communicate. We got to be able to talk to people. Team management. We got to know who our team. We got to know who's on our team. We got to know how to extract the best from each member of that team and knowing what they're good at. Because you come in as a sheet metal worker or a pipe fitter or a plumber, and there's different aspects of all those roles. Electrician, folks who can weld, who are certified, folks who can install, who can do finish work, all those things that we need to be able to tap into different ways of the skill sets that our people have and where they fit the best, at least for the time being. And maybe we develop them more to do something different later. But if we know what they do really well, let's figure out how to manage them appropriately, how to make sure that what we're doing is making the best benefit for the project as a whole. Next one is just the job site culture. It's like the lifeblood. It's like what we have to have in order to make progress and success and solve problems in a real-time manner. Otherwise, we're wasting tons of time, wasted time on dealing with issues and drama if we don't understand how to create the right type of culture. And that's not just us, but it starts with the leadership. So top 3 traits that every field leader needs to succeed. And I'm just going to drop this after and be done with it after that, and give some time, hopefully, for you to comment and ask questions, or we'll follow up with some other types of things that can help reiterate some of these points. But number 1, believe in yourself. I remember when I had left the trade and I came back And I felt like I was so cold and didn't know, remember how to do the things I did to be successful, or just to do my job as a young sheet metal worker. And I had to figure out a way to believe in myself again. And it was tough. I just pulling from straws in a sense and trying to figure it out. But until I got to the point where I believed, because I was surrounded by men that had 20 years, maybe 10 minimum, of seniority over me, more experience, the stuff they slept, ate, and drank. They knew it like the back of their hand, whereas I'm trying to figure it out. And some of those folks were showing me lessons. Some of those guys were helping me, but there's still a cloud that you put over yourself when you don't know something. You become your own worst enemy many times anyway, and you don't believe in yourself, so you operate in a way that shows you don't have confidence. And it's the worst thing that we can do to execute, to move forward. And so first and foremost, as a field leader and any leader in that matter, is that we got to have confidence in ourselves. We got to believe that we can, and then we begin to step out and do things. And we're going to make mistakes, but it's okay. And if you're around a great group of people, the mistakes you're allowed to make won't be like falling off into the Grand Canyon. It'll be like stepping over a curb. You can still get hurt, but we don't want you to kill yourself. And so it's really important that you believe in yourself. We'll talk more about that, but real quickly, I just want to go through these 3 traits that you can put a sticker on your hard hat. You can be reminded of what these things are and why it's important. Number 2 is courage. And it kind of ties into number 1, because once you kind of have that belief in yourself, and you got to step out and you got to do some stuff. I talked about in my book about working at a new company and not knowing necessarily anybody there, but there was a job I was going to get laid out to do, and I kind of knew what it was, but my foreman went into the trailer and said, I'll be right back out to line you up. And I'm looking around in my surroundings and said, hey, I know what this is. I know what I got to do. I'm going to just start doing it. So I did it. I started working on it, and he came back outside and said, hey, looks like I have a leader on my hands. That literally was the beginning of transitioning my job into a career, because I stayed with that person for 7+ years and transitioned to another role, which ultimately led me into the role of becoming a general superintendent at Southland. And so it's all these different steps, and you don't know when and where they're going to happen, and you're not even necessarily aware of what's going on all the time. But when you're operating in a belief in yourself and you're operating courageously, meaning you're taking some risk, and they're calculated. They're things you think about. You're not just jumping off the cliff. You are analyzing a scenario. You're looking at what you can do, what you can't do, and then you're making a decision. And sometimes it doesn't fall into play with what maybe you used to do, or somebody who's telling you, oh, don't do that because, right? Fill in the blanks. And sometimes you got to take risks. But sometimes those risks, always those risks require courage. Number 3, and the final one, this is another one. This is all like kind of emotional intelligence, kind of connected kind of things. But I'll say it's accurately reading the room, or another term is this being self-aware. You got to know when you're stepping on people. You've got to know when you said enough and everybody is looking at you saying, why don't you shut the hell up? And you still are talking because you haven't gained that insight of when to say, maybe I should be quiet and listen and let someone else say something. You probably don't know you're that person. And if you don't have any really, really good friends that have the courage to come and say, hey, you gotta be quiet. You've said enough. Most people won't do that because they're afraid of that person, because it might be the loudest, obnoxious, or the one who signs your check, or just the one who's the boss, right? And it's kind of intimidating to go and say, zip it, right? But we, as leaders, need to be self-aware. We need to be able to read the room. We need to be able to transition in when we go and say in a trailer in the office or to the boardroom and we're talking amongst a group of people and trying to solve problems, that being the loudest is not necessarily the best thing. Being the one who talks the most is not necessarily the best thing, but realizing that those things is the best thing. Recognizing those things about yourself, that you don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the one with the last word. You don't have to have all the answers. You can defer to someone else. Being able to understand what the temperature of the room is, and not just literally the temperature, but literally figuratively understanding what is the vibe in this space right now? What is the body language? What is my intuition telling me? Take some skill, and we hear that they're called soft skills, and they're not soft because they're hard as hell. But they're so important, more important than many times the knowledge that you have. Because you can have all that knowledge and not do anything with it because no one wants to hear you, because you don't know, you haven't mastered the art of self-awareness or emotional intelligence. So you're stepping on yourself, you're stepping on others, no one wants to hear you. And when you finally do leave the room, they're celebrating and you're the only one who doesn't know it. Imagine that. So we gotta have those things, all right? So believing in yourself, courage, self-awareness, or accurately reading the room. You must have those traits as a leader that's going to be effective, that's going to be impactful, that's going to make a change, that's going to build a culture in a project or a company where people want to come, stay, learn, grow, and ultimately give back into that company. Sounds simple, but it's not easy. Let's keep talking about it. Love to hear your comments. Again, like this page, please. I'd love to hear your responses, your feedback. Subscribe to the page so you can continually hear about what's going on. Check me out on all social media. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.